Hello, today what I've been doing is quite a lot of Roman blinds. So I'm going to give you a selection of Roman blinds that I've done over the course of a week. Now, behind me I have a Roman blind that is on a mechanism. And this Roman blind I made, but first of all it was on this mechanism, which is quite good. It has this pulling. This moves much more faster. But it has its problem. When you pull it up, it's always uneven now and then. You've got to tidy it up. So this is a bit of untidy. But this is the second cheapest mechanism to use. That's this one. So that pulls. The third one to use is this mechanism, which is the old-fashioned way, which this Roman blind is on wood. And you can see the eyelids are there and you pull it up. So this one moves, you can pull this one up much more faster. And that's the old-fashioned way. And that keeps your cost down. This is the most expensive way. As you can see, this is the mechanism, and it's on some brackets, and the strings here are inside, and it has this winding, so when you wind it, it always will stay straight. You'll have to excuse my sleeve panel behind, but I didn't want to take it down. So this one now is this mechanism, which it works much neater. But sometimes you've got to be careful with this one because this Roman blind is very heavy. I'm ruining my display underneath. So that's this mechanism, which is, I prefer this one. So when you pull it up now, it's always even. Well, thank you for watching my show. Enjoy my slideshow that I'm going to be showing you of Roman blinds. This is a large bay window. It's a right angle bay window. So I've done the whole thing in one, and then I'm going to cut it for the little small window afterward. So that's what this is at the moment. This looks like a plain fabric. It looks like a plain fabric, but it's not. It's got some stripes going down it. And with the stripes, I had to match it up. So what I had to do, there's a lot of waste of fabric here. So what I had to do to make sure the pattern matches up, like stripe, 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 plain, stripe, plain. Instead of having two plain, plain together or two stripe, stripe together, you've got to stitch it in a way that the consistency of the pattern remain. Stripe, plain, stripe, plain. So this is what I'm doing now, is cutting off the excess fabric, which is quite a lot. And that's where it takes up a lot of your fabric for each seam. So now I'm reducing my seam back down to ½ an inch. No, maybe an inch. Here we go. They've all, I've lost here of my fabric, and the customer has paid for it. You've lost at least 5 inches of fabric, and that's on every join. You've lost 5 inches, and that cannot be helped. And you don't realize this until it's been stitched up by the machinist. even though I've got all this material here, and this first section is 262.5 centimeters long, even though I've got all this fabric up there and I can get it all from there, I'm not doing that. What I'm going to do is, I found the center of this middle piece here, and I'm going to make it symmetrical, right? So that when you pull the blinds up and down, you see the larger bit is in the middle and the two joinings at the side is equal to the side, right? And that's what I'm doing. So you waste a lot of fabric. We've wasted fabric on the seam because it's striped. Now we're going to waste fabric on either end because we just want it to look good. And that's what makes it quality. So here, we're going to fold this section here and get rid of it. Now this section here that I'm cutting off is going to be for the other window, because as I said, it's a right angle bay window. this Roman blind now, this is a problem that you will encounter. Right, the lining will not fit the Roman blinds, each seams, because of the stripes of being matched up to become a ladder. So you've got stripe, plain, constantly throughout. So it's equal. The pattern is equal throughout. Because we've done that now, what we've done in effect is we've reduced this section here, whereby the fabric that was bought by this customer was meant to be 54 inches wide, but it wasn't. It was 56 inches wide. So once we've reduced it now, the width of this fabric is now 48 inches wide. The lining is 54 inches wide. So when you join each one of them up, the lining now, the space between here and there, is now bigger. Now with normal fabric, once they're heavy and so on, when you put the seams together, the other seams go away from each other, so they don't exactly match up. Now what you have to do is you've got to reduce the lining down to match this one. Not all Roman blinds you have to do it, but with this one you do. Why? Because it's cream. Cream is a nightmare. It's fine when you finish it, but when you've hung it up and the daylight hits it and you happen to pull it down in the daylight, you will now see through it and you will see that the joins do not match up. So here what we do is we match the joins up so that you will still see the joins, but at least they will be both together. So that's what we're going to do now. We're going to now bring the lining down to match up with the main fabric. Don't forget, we've centralized it there, so we've now got to centralize the lining as well. And that is going to be a problem that you can easily fix. So it's the same here as well. So I've got to reduce this down 5 inches. I'm only going to do it one side. I recommend you do this, but the lining normally you can rip it and it would be straight. I don't recommend you do it. You measure it out. So here you can see it's even all the way down. I ripped it, but you're going to measure it. Alright, so that's my, and now I'm going to stitch it back up. And that's it, and it will fit. So now this is going to match this side. I'm going to stitch this side up, I'm going to flip it over, I'm going to put it on the Roman blind. What I'm doing here with the iron is I'm creating static so that it kind of sticks together. Because let's face it, fabric does move around. Have you noticed that I'm doing two Roman blinds at the same time? I'm doing a very large one and a very small one. Do you remember I told you this was a bay window? I am putting seam to seam, and then I let it roll back on itself and it finds itself, and then it gives me 1 inch seam allowance because I've done my maths beforehand. And I do the same with the opposite side, seam to seam, let it roll back on itself, and it gives me a nice straight edge. And now I shall pin both sides down. Pin that side down, pin that side down, pin this down, and then I'm going to measure it for the drop. Here is the Roman blind that I'm making for this window today. Those were the other two. They've gone. They're hanging up. You've seen those. This is what I'm doing now. So this section is the big long window, and this section here is the little small one. Because this Roman blind is so big, what I'm going to do is, before I hem this down, I'm going to open these back up, pull it to the seam, and I'm going to lock these seams together. This one and this one. So I'm going to do some hand stitching. Now I've shown you how to do that already in another video. Grab both the seams together, and it's like a loopy loops action. You loop it through itself, and you do it very loosely, so don't pull it tight. Now this is the bar that goes at the bottom, which is the weight. And what I love to use this for, I like to use this for as my ruler, because as you can see, this Roman blind is very big. This Roman blind is 262 centimeters long, which is 103 inches wide. Right, so you need to get something nice and straight to draw your lines where you're going to put your tubular tape. Now I've used wood in the past, but sometimes when you use the wood is warp. So this, I love to use this one because it's absolutely nice and straight. So this is what I'm going to do now to straighten, put my lines in, do my top and hem it, and then it'll be finished. And as you can see, it's nice and long, so I can do both at the same time, the little small one as well. Get them looking the same. So that's what I'm going to do now. It's very difficult to do this when it's just you by yourself. It's nice to have somebody else at the other end of the tape measure to make sure everything doesn't move.